Sair da escola já com uma formação profissional no currículo? Parece bom demais pra ser verdade, né? Pois é. No ensino técnico do Senac, isso é possível. É ensino médio junto com formação técnica, que acontece durante os 3 anos. Lá, eles usam metodologia para projetos, desenvolvendo competências como resolução de problemas, pensamento crítico e colaboração, além de valores éticos e sustentáveis. Quer saber? Senac. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino médio e saiba mais.
Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira,
pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Welcome to the Thanksgiving edition of the Brown and Black Podcast. My name is Jack Rico.
And I'm Mike Sargent.
And every week we take a look at race and pop culture through a brown and black lens. Mike, it's the Thanksgiving edition, man. And I got to tell you, man, this episode, I feel like I need to talk about movies.
We always say pop culture, but we haven't been hitting the pop culture for a minute there, dude.
And more than ever, I feel like I need to retreat into a movie refuge, man. It's been a while since I've been connecting on movies. You know, as soon as I moved upstate, you can't do screenings anymore. So now I get screeners and I can't watch the screeners every time. So whenever I can, I'm either watching a TV show with my wife, co-viewing, it's a thing. And if not, we're watching a movie. But it hasn't been that many. But the ones that I have been seeing, I wanted to share with you and with the listeners and see if you've had a chance to see any of these. And I'm dying to know what you've been seeing throughout the year, because I know you've seen a lot more than I have.
Let me say this, because I want you to go first with at least your first film, but I will say this in response to what you're saying. The battle I have is there's so many things that I want to see, but then there are all these things that I have to see, that I have to review, that I'm supposed to review for different outlets and whatnot. So there's a dichotomy there where there's a lot of things I want to get to, like you say, a TV series. I'm like, oh my God, when would I have time to watch a TV series? But then you've referred stuff to me that, wow. And I think I've referred a couple things to you that you were like, wow. So I'm excited to hear what the hell you liked and what the hell you watched.
Let me begin with the show that I'm currently binging on right now with my wife. And It's called Lioness.
Let's go!
Why, out of all the jobs in the world, you pick this one? Why this job?
There's no such thing as a moral war. There's survival, and there's surrender.
How did we get to where we are today?
Hey!
No. Nobody's innocent. Nobody.
It stars Zoe Saldana, so enough said. Has also Nicole Kidman and a lot of TV characters you've seen either in House of Cards or in some of your favorite TV shows. But this is a Taylor Sheridan show. Taylor Sheridan is the Yellowstone writer. This is the guy that saved Paramount. Without Taylor Sheridan, Paramount probably wouldn't even exist at this moment. He did the sequels to 1883, I believe it was 1923. And then he also did Landman with Billy Bob Thornton and Michael Peña's in it as well. This show, Lioness, with Zoe Saldana, I started watching immediately in season 2 because I had heard people talk about it. I was like, yo, under the radar, Lioness. And I'm like, man, I don't know. We just started watching it. And dude, from the get-go, it's like a group kicking ass with Mexicans, and it was action from the start. So I think if you guys are looking for female-led TV shows that are intense action with little subplot, but just kick-ass action scenes, military style, like all about America military kicking ass, this is a show that is kind of addictive. We've been binging it.
Wow. I've been wanting to see Lioness for a while, and I like the premise. She's a CIA operative. That's up my alley, that kind of thing. So I'm very excited to see this, and I wish I had. I'm completely down. Let me just say that. The film I'm going to talk to you about, and I feel like I have to talk about it because it represents a lot of things to me, and it's called The Piano Lesson.
You feel that? That's your family. That's your blood. Sometimes you be in trouble. They might be around to help you.
It's based on the Pulitzer Prize winning play by August Wilson. That's part of a 10-play cycle. And a few years back, you may remember that Denzel Washington bought the rights to all 10 plays with the intention of adapting them. Some he would direct, some he would just produce. He did Fences. That was great. And we just did Ma Rainey's. And this, what I like about this and what this resonates for me, not just because of the material, and it's August Wilson, and he's got a lot to say about being American, being Black, just being human, and it's amazing. This is produced by Denzel and one of his daughters. It's directed by one of his sons, Malcolm Washington, and it's starring his other son, John David Washington. He's literally creating a dynasty, a Black film dynasty, and there's never been such a thing. There have been a number of white dynasties, whether it's the Fondas or any number of filmmakers or actors who have been able to, whether you want to call it nepotism, but give a leg up to their children in this industry. So it's very powerful to me to see this happening. And I don't know if you know anything about the plot of The Piano Lesson. Do you know anything about it?
Nothing.
All right. I don't want to tell you too much, but I will tell you this. And this is what really surprised me. I had never seen The Piano Lesson. I had known about it. I knew that they had remounted it back in 2019 with John David Washington and with Samuel L. Jackson, who originated the role on Broadway because this is back in the late 80s. So I was excited to see it. I wanted to see it. My habit is, as you probably know, I don't look at the trailer. I don't read anything. I just want to go in, take me where you're going to take me. I had no idea that this was a supernatural story. I had no idea. And when
so it's a science fiction story?
It's a horror movie. Yes, dude.
So it's Black horror?
Let's just say it's a ghost story. But it's also all these other things, social commentary, all this. I can't believe that I never went to see this on stage, but it'll blow you away. It'll blow you away because when have you seen this? And with the level of performances, the level of craft that went into it, this is Malcolm Washington's first feature film. He's done shorts. Very talented. He absolutely has a vision, absolutely in his DNA to be a storyteller. And Danielle Deadwyler, you don't know her name now, but you will after this movie. So this is a film that really moved me on a number of levels as a person in this industry and seeing where Denzel is. And I really was taken with the film. So I absolutely recommend to you to see this movie.
Oh my God, Mike, that reminds me that there's actually a Latino brown movie that's on Netflix right now called Pedro Páramo that is about a Mexican man finding the ghost of his father. It's interesting to see what's happening right now with brown and Black stories. Like, they're not necessarily action stories, right? Or superheroes. They're getting back to the basics and a little bit of history, period pieces. Also, as well as what we're starting to see at the end of 2024, heading into the new year. So that's promising.
You bring up an interesting point because the thing about Piano Lesson and probably this film too, it's not just history because that's part of it. And it's not just culture because that's a deep part of it, but it's using genre or mixing genres to tell stories. It's like we for such a long time, we were pigeonholed into certain kinds of movies that quote unquote are Black or quote unquote Latino. And that's what it was. And if you didn't, but the idea that these are films that we can see on Netflix and streaming and in the theaters that are these brown and Black stories. Again, the mixing of supernatural, the piano lesson it's a family story that traces back to slavery in this country and an heirloom, and it's all these things, but it's also a ghost story.
So for me, the other movie that I've been watching, and it's not new, but it's been on my queue forever, and loving this documentary. And I'm sure you've seen it. It's called Is That Black Enough for You?
You are capable of great feats of strength and courage.
My grandmother told me that movies turned her dreams into something resembling stories. But the on-screen crushing of Black hope was institutional.
When I was a kid, we had Stephen Fetchit, Willie Best, Buckwheat. But I still wanted to be them.
So this is Elvis Mitchell, who used to be the critic of the New York Times. I used to read this guy all of the time. Then he left. I think he went to L.A., but I've been following his career forever because he's one of the few Black film critics from the New York Times. He decided to do a documentary, wrote it, directed it, and produced it. It's about 135 minutes, but I love the way he starts it, man. He starts it with a very, very powerful question.
Why did these Black films stop getting made?
I really had no idea that there was a golden age of Black cinema in the 1970s. So that there were so many releases. I mean, Pam Grier, so many stuff from hip hop that I had learned when I was a kid in the mid 80s was a derivative of something, I guess, that was happening in the 70s. And I did not know about that. So I feel like, Shaft and that great music of the time. So anybody who's interested in knowing about Black cinema and that golden age era and why it stopped, this is it. It's called Is That Black Enough for You from Elvis Mitchell.
Just recently, I was doing commentary for some what are deemed blaxploitation films. And yes, that 70s period, it's underestimated just how culturally, how much happened in cinema during that period. The next film I wanted to talk about, interestingly enough, is a film called Blitz.
What is your name?
George.
So how the hell did you end up here?
Are you familiar at all with Steve McQueen?
Yes, 12 Years a Slave, I think, was the first movie I saw from him.
Blitz takes place during the Blitz. It takes place in London, and it's during World War II, and the war's beginning to go on and whatnot. And it focuses on two characters. A young boy who's mixed. He's half Black, half white. And a young woman played by Saoirse Ronan, who's his mom. The story pivots back and forth because during that time, there was a thing where they would send kids off somewhere, like a boarding school, to be safer because London was being bombed. So they send him off. He doesn't want to go, but she feels it's the best thing for him, and they put him on a train. He ends up escaping off the train to try and find his way back home. So it's her adventure, what's going on in her life in London, what's everything that's going on in his adventure. And his adventure, I will be honest, is really what's most interesting about the film. I can't say I didn't care about her and what was happening to being white at that time, but for a young mixed boy, it's not a perfect film, but there are some moments in there that were very moving, and I will absolutely recommend you watch that movie for a number of reasons. So it's not, like I said, a perfect film, but it's absolutely worth seeing, specifically because it's not a topic that's even talked about. What was it? There's the one role in particular, there's an actor named Benjamin Clementine. He plays a black soldier, something you almost never see, that they were actually fighting for the British and working and fighting with the British. Very powerful, very powerful. So that's all I got to say. I recommend it because it moved me, and not many films do.
Did you see the Demi Moore movie, The Substance?
Yes, I did. Yes, okay. I did. Yes, I did.
Wow. Okay.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. One single injection unlocks your DNA, starting a new cellular division that will release another version of yourself. This is The Substance.
You and I are part of the Critics' Choice Association, and this year, what's been cool for film critics is that the CCA now has a movie app. So they dump in all of the award-winning films or films that have been playing in festivals. Yeah, completely. It's the award contenders. One of the ones was The Substance. Now, I have been hearing about this movie from the festival circuit that this is Demi Moore's comeback. Now, I'm an 80s kid. I'm a Gen Xer. Dude, Demi Moore was the star, the movie star, the celebrity of the 80s. My wife still is like, oh, man, I loved all her movies. And I think I've probably seen most of Demi Moore's movies. So in a way, I was also looking at this as a nostalgic moment because much like Tyson, that you're looking for him to bring back that vintage moment in a climate of uncertainty, you go to nostalgia. And I guess the nostalgia of hearing that Demi Moore probably hit it out of the park with this movie was my main attraction to watch this. So Jackie and I sit down and we're like, let's watch The Holy shit.
I hope you weren't eating while you did it.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you next week. And in the meantime, take care of yourself.
Oh my goodness. First of all, she was amazing. Vintage Demi Moore. She looks amazing.
Perfectly cast.
And my wife was like, who is she using? She looks vintage Demi Moore, man. It was incredible. So that was, it was an inspirational moment just to see how a woman who is aging is playing a woman who is aging and that is being replaced by a younger woman. Now, in this case, herself. I won't say too much about it, but that's what the movie's about. It's about the old and young version of the same person and who edges out. So the whole exploration here on ageism, on Hollywood's obsession with youth, which reminded me a lot of The Constitution, the movie where they wanted to digitize Robin Wright Penn in her prime self. Like, the way executives look at it is, why should I have 2024 Julia Roberts when I can have the Pretty Woman Julia Roberts? That's the one that everybody wants to see. And maybe that's true. But it's an ugly fact that people would even think like that. And this movie really digs deep. I think it's timely. I think that this idea of what is age and what are you washed up after a certain amount of time. And if any woman is going through this movie, it's a big metaphor. And they make it really surreal and entertaining. And it's just a unique watch. It's fun. It's funny. It gives you that Gen X vibe as well. And dude, Dennis Quaid, I'm going to start the Dennis Quaid supporting actor role. He was unbelievably hateful in this movie.
Also perfectly cast.
Perfectly cast. He's been knocking it out of the park as of late, Dennis Quaid. So, but I think that this is one of the best roles I've seen him in a very long time. Dude, this guy crushed it in this movie, and I'm starting the best supporting acting role for him, man.
I completely enjoyed this movie, and for all the reasons that you said, and I don't want to give away too much of the plot either. I love science fiction. So I love the science fiction. I love all the metaphors. I think you're probably the only male friend that I have that I can truly say is also a feminist, because it's just not something, it always sounds disingenuous to say, so I don't say it much. But so you got it. You got all the things that this director was talking about. And I completely enjoyed the notion of, or the question of, okay, what would you be willing to give up in order to achieve youth or beauty or whatever? And I was reminded of a friend that we have all these things that you can take now to lose weight. All this.
You mean Ozempic?
Ozempic, exactly. And I have a friend who got on Ozempic. And when I would hang out with him, he was vomiting, and he was like, oh, excuse me, vomit. Okay. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Oh, I lost 30 pounds. I'm like, fuck. Like, what? So the lengths that people will go to, the shortcuts that people will take. And then for women, it's even more, because it's just this pressure, like this complete and utter objectivism
and that's what this movie's about.
That's completely what it's about. And I thought it was, I love how outrageous it gets. And when I say outrageous,
it's a fun movie too, man. It's just straight up fun.
So much fun.
Crazy.
Fun. It is crazy.
Let loose, man. Let loose. Watch this movie, and you're gonna have a lot of fun. And it's so thought provoking. It's a great movie. So, Mike, there's a few other movies that I have not had a chance to see yet. It's on my queue. I'll probably watch it now throughout the holidays before the end of the year. Clearly, the Captain America Brave New World trailer is something that I'm going to be watching for next year.
You asked for me. Here I am.
Anthony Mackie as the Black Captain America in a Trump presidency. That's going to be an interesting relationship that I want to see. Will people go see it? Will there be trolls? Will there be racist texts like Black and Hispanics and LGBTQ plus have been receiving systematically after Trump was elected? So I got my eye on that one. But Emilia Pérez. Now, you've been hearing a lot about this from the festival circuit, haven't you?
Oh, my God, yes.
Okay, so it's already on Netflix. It's on my queue, but it's about this Latino crazy cast. Selena Gomez, Zoe Saldana, Edgar Ramirez. How often do they get together to do a story that is also Latino about a cartel king that has sex surgery to avoid his enemy, which is hilarious, but it's a musical.
Medio ella, medio papá, medio tía, medio rica.
And that's what makes the whole thing crazy. So word is good about it. I'm curious. What is on your queue that maybe some people might be curious and maybe they've already seen it?
Because the show is called Brown and Black, I have to acknowledge Gladiator 2, because it's Denzel and Pedro Pascal.
It is an art, choosing gladiators. They're usually prisoners of war.
I claim this city for the glory of Rome.
You have something in you. Rage. Never let it go.
For those who are film fans, this is the second time they made a film together, because he was in Equalizer 2. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm. But I did want to say this to you, Mike. You're talking about the brown and black movies. Captain America, Brave New World.
That's
true. A brown black movie. Marvel movie.
This is true.
This is the second brown and black Marvel movie, but no one's framing it like that. Black Panther was a brown and black movie, the sequel.
All right. We're going to review Captain America then, aren't we, on the show?
Of course. And now you got Captain America, Brave New World with the black lead, and his sidekick or his best friend is Joaquin Torres, Latino.
Have you been watching?
But no one's framing it like that.
No. Have you been watching Penguin?
Listen, I saw the first episode, and it has the Dominican kid.
Yeah.
There as well. It's just, again, it's just so much, man. Like I told you already, the queue I got going. It's a lot. But what I love about you, about even that answer, is that it looks like Latinos are mainstream. They're mainstreaming right now. Let's just call it like that. They're mainstreaming, where they're in the evolution of being in the mainstream consistently. That's mainstreaming to me, that you're consistently there. You're colliding with white culture. You're colliding with black culture.
You're part of the conversation.
You're part of the conversation because, dude, if Latinos are in a part of that white black space, they're invisible. But as soon as either white or black directors are including them in these binary conversations or these binary universes, that's amazing for us. To see this Captain America, Brave New World movie as a brown and black movie, just went, oh, will there be more of this?
Yes.
And that's it for this Thanksgiving episode of Brown and Black. If you'd like to support this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. Your help will allow us to be heard by many more people. You can follow our comments and opinions on @BrownBlackPodcast on Instagram and YouTube. We'll see you on the next episode of
Brown and Black.